Welcome back to Kitchen Table Talks, the 40th Anniversary Edition, a series of conversations where we sit down with people who have made a significant impact in Epic's 40-year history. I'm here with Dr. Val Cooley, who is not only a member of the board on Epic, but she is also the stepdaughter of our founder, Robert Wilson. Val, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Now, with Mother's Day right around the corner, we're going to kick it off by talking a little bit about Linda Wilson and your mom, Sarah. So describe a little bit your relationship with Mrs. Wilson and just what kind of person she was.
Well, first of all, she wasn't Mrs. Wilson. She was Penny. And my stepsisters will be able to explain why she had that name. But Penny and I grew up knowing her as Mrs. Wilson and as a mother of friends of mine. And then in my early 20s, I got to know Penny. She then insisted that I call her Penny. And I collaborated on a number of artistic musical projects. And I found her to be an absolute hoot. Plus a wonderful role model for being my mother's age, but being a friend for me. And that was one of the openings for me to develop a better relationship with my mom. Penny wasn't my mom, but she certainly had a profound effect on her own children and Bob, and then through me and my kids.
And then how did your mom and Mr. Wilson really get to know each other and form that relationship?
Well, Mother and Bob knew each other as young couples growing up with kids. And my dad passed away in 76, and Penny's death was, I believe, the same year, the next winter. And they were both newly had lost their spouses, and Bob was on the spot right away with my mom. They were at a party together. He drove her home, and he conveniently left his hat and left so that he could go back and see her again. And then they started having dinner together, and it went from there. And it was really a whirlwind romance. And they had both lost their spouses. They had grown children and grandchildren, and it was a coming together of families with a joyous hurrah.
So talk to us a little bit about your mom. What are some of her qualities, or what are things that you remember about her?
Well, first of all, my mom was a very talented dancer. Couldn't sing. I'm the singer. She was the dancer. And so she and Penny also worked together in these collaborations. So it was really fun. And my mom was a very active, as was Penny. Both of those women were non-working moms who had full-time jobs as volunteers in hospitals, in nursing homes, you name it. Those women were. My mom worked 40 hours a week, as far as I can say, and so did Penny. So there was another example for me of knowing that I could work on a full-time job and also be a parent. And then, of course, I had my mom and Penny and my dad and Bob as role models for parenting. And when you think about that, that is a blessing to have that pre-experience. You don't even know you're getting educated, but you learn these things and they become part of you, and you were able to follow them out in parenting. And then when I think of what Bob did in in response to his tragedy, which, as you probably remember, was he and his wife Penny were living in the Boston Hills, and Bob went down to the end of the driveway to get the paper, and by the time he came back, his wife was missing. They found her later in the woods dead, and she had been murdered by a foster child living nearby. And this young man had been doing odd jobs for the Wilsons, and he knew, or he thought, that they would be on vacation. So he had seen things in the house that he wanted to steal. And unfortunately, Penny got sick and was in bed sick. When Bob went down to get the paper, the boy broke in, Penny heard, and we don't know what happened from there. But what Bob did was, obviously the sorrow, the pain was just unbearable. However, he asked the question, why would a young man do this? What happened to him that made him be like this? And so he looked into it and found out that this young man had been in multiple foster homes, not such great foster homes, had been physically and emotionally abused. And that's when Bob really went on his crusade, first of all for against child abuse, started the child abuse in council in Erie County, and then went statewide, and then all of a sudden realized that he had to do more, and that's when he decided that he needed to start an organization that helped parents who didn't know how to parent, and that's where that came about. Long story.
But an incredible story.
Yeah.
And so fitting, I think, for this weekend and beyond, when we really celebrate all of the strong adult figures out there and the difference they can make.
Yeah.